Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today it's your boy Jonathan Martinez, but you already know the name. And today we're going to be talking about here big spoiler content for the newest Marvel film, Thor Love and Thunder. Now, if you haven't already seen the film, please do not continue to watch this video because there is going to be heavy spoiler talk about the entire film, Easter eggs, references, a bit of stuff here and there that maybe people didn't notice or people didn't see, or maybe you just wanted some better insight into things. Mind you, I probably will be talking about stuff that other YouTubers or other content creators have already discussed on other YouTube channels. This is just my version to it. So basically, this is just my input to what I've seen, to what I've noticed. So if there is anything that you have seen elsewhere from other channels, be sure to pop that in the comment section down below, so then at least I'll get better insight and knowledge into stuff I wasn't able to see. So then at least, you know, as a big YouTube community family, we're all able to gather our own insight into all of these new ideas and new things that we get to discover from it. Without further ado, like I said, heavy spoiler content. Please don't continue from here on out because they will be discussing the entire film and discussing certain things here and there that I've been able to notice that other people may have didn't, or maybe you already did. And this is just to give my input into the film and what I thought of it. So first of all, as a whole, let's say, review for the film, I honestly enjoyed the film a lot. Definitely out of all the Thor films, I have basically grown with this character a lot, especially Chris Hemsworth, the actor who has played him for all four of them, and the Avengers films, and anything else apart from that. Definitely, I believe Thor has had the best character development for himself. Personally, between all Thor films, out of all of them, I would like to say that Thor 4 Love and Thunder is my number one film, after seeing it already nearly 4 times in cinemas since it's been out. So definitely, this is probably my highest ranked Thor film. I know a lot of other people have been saying all over the social media that this is probably their worst Thor film, that this isn't their most enjoyable Thor film. But personally, overall, through story, character development, soundtrack especially, the way it leads up, for being an MCU kind of film, I found so much enjoyment with it. Every time I go to watch it, I find the same humor, and it's just funny and funnier all over again. Taika definitely did an amazing job with directing, coming back to the director's chair once again. From Thor Ragnarok to Thor Love and Thunder, you're definitely being able to see the hype into both of them. Overall, story-wise, where we see Thor's character from where he first left off, where we saw him leave with the Guardians of the Galaxy from Avengers Endgame, to where he is currently right now. So talking about how he's trying to find himself through, you know, understanding who he is after all of the loss he's, you know, taken, from losing Loki, to losing his mom, to losing his dad, to losing his best friends. He's just taken a heavy toll on that, even to losing his loved one, which was Jane. Not really losing her through death, just really losing her through heartbreak. As the other ones were discussed, they were actually, you know, either murdered by a villain, or they were just, you know, peacefully dying in their death. So yeah, we get that in the first few minutes, just understanding where he's coming at right now and basically how he's handling all of it. So he's trying to find himself, and with the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's really trying to explore other new worlds of other new people to try and really understand where he's trying to go from here on out. And after finally realizing and coming to terms that, you know, he's still not understanding who he is, we go into the present where we see Jane Foster finding out that she has cancer. And she's, you know, getting her scans done and all that, and she doesn't really want to be isolated in a hospital, so she tries to find her own cure from it. But after a reprise through Stellan Skarsgård's role, he actually tries to explain to Jane that, you know, it's a bit hard. Her cancer has already reached stage 4, so there isn't really anything they can do about it. So she just tries to find an alternate solution, and then with the help of Darcy, her best friend, she basically tries to say her there's always that other power card, which is basically the use of the magical powers, you know, the special Viking card, they like to call it, Space Viking card. There's always that card that they could go and, you know, try to look out for. When first hearing about it, I thought it was another way to call back Thor onto Earth. I thought that's the way they were trying to referencing it. But after watching it, you know, the first few couple of times, I understood that there was another way that they could do it. And then when they show us in the film, you know, when Jane looks through her books of history and she finds out that she can actually go and, you know, pick up Mjolnir, that when picking it up, it'll grant her strength, her re-health, so better health, special powers and other stuff along into that book. And you know, she tries to discover herself and, you know, well, get better in her sense with health. But apart from that, we actually go through and we go to visit New Asgard, the way it's been rebuilt, what's going on, how King Valkyrie's handling things, and what she's been up to recently. And then from there, we find out that we go back to Thor. He gets, you know, his new goats after he's basically saved a bunch of people. And yeah, we find out that what Thor's next mission is to go find other worlds and see what can happen next. But to only find out that an incoming mission from distress signals was that basically other gods have been dying, and the Guardians of the Galaxy want to find out which gods have been dying. Thor found a message from Sif, and Sif is trying to get in contact with Thor, saying that if he's heard of anything, to try and see what he can actually do about it. But then he doesn't know what else to do, so he tells the Guardians of the Galaxy, let's go to get her. But the Guardians of the Galaxy want to go visit everyone and split off so then they could, you know, help everyone. But then Thor decides to leave the Guardians of the Galaxy at this point and say to him, it's okay, we'll depart on our journeys, you go to help everyone else, and he'll go to find Sif. And then from there, it's the continuation of basically the adventures with Korg and Thor. And we get to see Thor's new suit, which I must say is a beautiful suit. Taika, the production designer team, when they went into this, or the costume designer team, whoever designed that suit, it looks really, really good, I must say. A classical reference back to comic book stuff with the MCU, with Marvel comic version of Thor. I definitely liked it a lot. But yeah, no, with, you know, the Thor and Korg adventures, we definitely get to see the goats come along with it, and, you know, that a lovely scream they all like to do. But continuing on, yeah, so we go on this journey with Thor and Korg. They go to find Sif, one of the gods dead, and they try to ask Sif what has happened, and then Sif decides to explain that Gore, the god butcher, is killing all the gods, as, you know, that was his vow in the beginning of the film, because you get to understand that, you know, Gore has lost his daughter, and the gods don't really care about what they do in terms of sacrifice, in terms of losing half their planet, or in terms of losing all of the planet. That everyone below a god is just meaningless to them, and that Gore decides to say that, well, if that's how you think of us, I'm just going to decide to kill all the gods. And yeah, Gore goes on this slashing journey to kill every single god, as that is his new vow, to try to see what, you know, he can accomplish with that. But moving forward, the story goes on. We decide to see Jane Foster and Thor unite as a couple, and they decide to keep going with that. And then they travel across the world because Gore stole the children. And we come to the conclusion towards the end of the film, just skipping a lot of it, that Gore versus, you know, Thor was an amazing scene. It was just beautifully synced up all together, that, you know, Thor gave his power to the children that Gore stole from New Asgard, that they tried to go save. And just the way that Thor gave his powers to these children was, it's just a beautiful scene to see, and it's just visually amazing just by the way it all turns out. And he told Jane to stay on Earth, because if she goes on another mission, she's actually going to end up dying and not be able to come back from it. And then that's what basically happens towards the end of the film. Jane actually does end up sacrificing herself to save everyone else. And yeah, it's just a sad moment to see, because Thor basically tells Gore, when he wants to reach eternity, to, you know, choose between ending all gods or to bring back someone. Thor decides to choose between love or anything else. He chooses love, and instead of telling, you know, or stopping Gore to do from what he's doing, he just says to her, you know what, do what you want, I'm going to choose love, because she's going to die either way sitting there, and I want to be with her in her final moments. And it's just a wholesome moment between Thor and Jane to, you know, see them together finally after the reunite for so many years, 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days. And then from there, Gore chooses love as well to bring back his child that he lost in the beginning of the film. Unfortunately though, Gore does end up dying because the curse has killed him from, you know, touching that sword. And then basically from there, towards the end of the film, Thor takes on Gore's child because Gore's dead, Jane's dead, and then from that point forward, Gore asks if Thor can take, care of his child, and he does. And then basically, as the film is ending, Korg is describing the story of how basically Thor goes on his adventures with his new partner, which is the little child, which she calls him Uncle Thor. And then the movie title comes up, and Korg is trying to explain that everyone across the realms know them as Thor, Love and Thunder, which is a beautiful mental moment to how the title comes up, because it's so cool, it's so unique when they explain it. Apart from that, that is just a rough version of the story. That is just me explaining it. Like, if I was to go on a whole long rant for the story, it is basically just an hour's worth to explain about, maybe even like 30 minutes long. But technically, that was my whole explanation of the story of how the film happened, what happened in the film. But personally, it's a story that I enjoyed mostly. It's an MCU kind of film, so you definitely got the love and thunder out of it. It's definitely a rom-com, which personally we have never seen in any other MCU film before. The way it's styled, the way it's visualized, the way it's written, it's beautiful. It's definitely something unique, and you can't compare to another MCU film because it's so unique to its own version. It's so much more different, which I enjoyed personally a lot of. So it's definitely very enjoyable to see this rom-com fashion kind of film. Apart from that, moving on into the soundtrack. The soundtrack for me personally was very sensational, it's so different. Like, of course, for Guardians of the Galaxy, we've had, different hit numbers from 80s to 90s or 70s / hits. That we've gotten the vibe and the general sensibility that it's been very entertaining to keep us on the edge of our seats, really vibing with the characters for when it's for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Coming into Thor: Love and Thunder with the trailer where we had by Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child O' Mine. It was very unique. It was very different. It's just something with other MCU films, we don't really have songs like that or really appear that often or that much for it to be used. So we definitely had, for example, for the Black Panther film, we had a whole album by Kendrick Lamar. For Guardians of the Galaxy, we've had various artists here and there, but it's actually used in the film, so movies like that. But where for Thor: Love and Thunder, the soundtrack, it threw us all off guard, especially for myself. It had a lot of Guns N' Roses. It had ABBA in there. Yeah, from what I can remember, Mary J. Blige as well was in there. So it had songs like Sweet Child O' Mine, November Rain, Paradise City, Family Affair. It also had, it also had Our Last Summer. And I'm trying to remember the first song, but I can't remember the first song. If you remember the first song for the film, I know it's in my playlist. Please pop that in the comment section down below. Let's see if you all know what that song was. But apart from that, the soundtrack was amazing. Like, from where it started to where it finished, where they had Welcome to the Jungle at the beginning for when Thor's about to show us, how to defeat these villains that he's facing off in the beginning of the film, to where they introduce Paradise City, which is for New Asgard, the way that comes along. And then where they show us November Rain, the very last minute of it, and how it's just Thor with the children versing Gore and the monsters. It's just, it's really, really good. Till we had Sweet Child O' Mine, where the goats, Tooth Gnasher and, oh my gosh, what's the other goat's name? To what the other goat's name is. I know there's Tooth Gnasher and, I can't remember the other goat's name. Oh my gosh. Yes, so to what the two goats, when they come in with the boat to really, save Thor, King Valkyrie, and Korg, and Mighty Thor from where they all are, to when they come save them, that was also cool. But yeah, just the soundtrack, it's so unique, so different to where we see Jane Foster's and Thor's love history, how it was handled, what happened, and what they went through together. Our Last Summer was played. Instantly picked up on that. I'm a huge ABBA fan, so to hear that, and I was like, oh my gosh, ABBA, that was amazing as well. But the soundtrack really helped the film's core, storyline, and really pick up the pieces of where it needed to be. So that was very, very good. But moving on into some other little references I was able to see in the film. So where we meet in the City of All Gods, I'm able to see, we saw a lot of new gods that I've never seen before. But we could definitely see some Eternals kind of references. You're able to see a lot of the circles that we use for the Eternals. So in the images that I'm portraying above, or some of the visuals, with the circles that they use on their suits, on their costumes, and some of the stuff you're able to see on the ship, you're actually able to see it in this city, and you're able to actually to see Celestials. So you're able to see them towards the end of it when Thor and his crew are leaving from that city, that, you know, safe haven, where Zeus appears. You actually can see it all over. You can see all the circles there and there. So I was just thinking that maybe the Eternals, you know, got their costumes from maybe this place. Maybe that, you know, some of the Celestials designed their costumes from this area. Maybe it was because, you know, that the Celestials came from here. Maybe they decided to think that maybe it'd be a good idea to design their costumes like that. It's just these little references that I found really cool to see and pick up on. Especially for the song In November Rain that they use for Thor when he's versing Gore, especially the lines here and there. I don't know if it was ever thought of, but, you know, towards the end of it, you could definitely hear in the final part of it that it's like, it goes, don't you think you need somebody? Don't you think you need someone? And while Thor's facing Gore alone, he's actually, you know, losing half the time. So then Mighty Thor comes in to go and save him. So, you know, don't you think you need someone? And then, or don't you think you need the children to help you? It's like, you know, Thor can't always fight his battles alone. And then it also says, you're not the only one. So in the poster, it says the one and only, that I think it's a reference to the song, where I think it's a cool touch to the poster as well, the one and only. But then in the song it says you're not the only one, so it's like trying to say you're not the only Thor. There's always other Thors that you can create, like we basically saw in the film that he can actually do. Just these little references. Probably this has nothing to do with the film. Probably this was never thought of, but it's just a little theory that I think I thought of was pretty cool. I decided to see and was like, oh, that's actually very interesting. And especially in the city, we're actually able to see the tattoos on Thor, where he, you know, the Zeus decides to flick him and completely go naked. So I thought that was very interesting to see that we're able to see that, you know, Thor actually has tattoos. One of the MCU heroes actually, you know, goes to get tattoos. So I thought that was very cool. Some of the tattoos that I was able to see was Rip Loki. There's this scroll that I didn't get to read properly, but there's some names on there that maybe I think they were villains he's killed, or maybe it's his family members who have died so far. I think it's probably some villains, his biggest villains he's ever killed. But yeah, he has a lot of tattoos. Rip Mjolnir, I think was one of them. I think it was Mjolnir broken, or Mjolnir was on there to show that Mjolnir is probably his favorite hammer. But the love interest between Thor, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir is hilarious, because they decided to bring them as actual characters into the film. So Stormbreaker getting jealous over Mjolnir, and how Stormbreaker performs overall in the film was just hilarious. It's just Thor actually communicates to both hammers in separate ways, and it's a really hilarious thing to see on screen, because the joke out of it is just more funnier. Apart from that, the post-credit scenes. In the post-credit scenes, we're actually able to see two different things. In the first post-credit scenes, we see Zeus. Zeus is talking about how gods are never treated properly. How when, you know, when Thor threw the thunderbolt through him in the middle, and then, you know, he falls to what we think he's death. No, he's actually still alive, but, you know, he's just talking to his son Hercules, which was very amazing to see, because I never thought we would bring Hercules into the film. He's trying to tell Hercules that we should make everyone fear that gods still exist. And yeah, so I think with the lead up into Thor 5, or if it's a mini series of what they decide to do, I don't know how Marvel is going to take this route, but we'll have to see how Hercules versus Thor will happen. I've read all over social media and a bit of Google and a bit of into the comics that Hercules and Thor is a phenomenal battle, because it's Thor meeting his greatest opponent, because apparently, due to what I've read and due to what other people have spoken about, that Hercules is the match that Thor is waiting for, because Thor and Hercules they're basically identical in terms of how they fight. That is just, they're both strong, they can both, you know, hit each other very well, but one of them will end up falling. We'll have to see who it is. Maybe Hercules will take the throne, as into, you know, being the strongest person, or maybe it'll be Thor back again. We'll have to see how that film goes in Thor 5. But that's just Zeus explaining to Hercules that he wants gods to be feared again. That he wants the humans to fear gods again. So we'll have to see how that is a lead up into Thor 5, or a mini-series. And then in the final post-credits scene, we see Mighty Thor, Jane Foster, come into Valhalla, where we see Heimdall again. Heimdall explains to Jane that he is happy that, you know, she took care of her son for saving him as well. And just into a little bit of it that, you know, he just says, welcome to Valhalla, where all the gods come to, you know, rest after they've died in battle. And yeah, hopefully we get to see some characters we haven't seen before. Maybe we've seen them die in the previous Thor films, or maybe we've seen them die in other MCU films that we haven't even noticed that they all go to Valhalla. So I believe Odin will definitely be in there, because it's the same sort of energy of how they die. So they turn into this gold dust, and then they just fade out. So the same way that Jane Foster died, to the same way Odin died, this is where they end up. Only thing is, I remember seeing in a comic book, when Jane Foster ends up there, she ends up the same way that she was dying in front of Thor. So she ended up the same sort of like, you know, that she was still dying with cancer, that she would still look the same. But in this version of the MCU, she actually looks much more healthier. She looks like she's basically been reincarnated with better health and a better physical appearance, that she's, you know, more happy, like she's way more happier, like she's not dying. She looks much more healthier than what she did before when she was. And then we just see Heimdall, happy to see him again. Idris Elba's back into the film. But apart from that, yeah, these two post-credit scenes basically lead us into Thor 5 or a mini-series. We don't know yet. We'll have to see what Disney Plus decides to say. If D23, I believe, is happening this year still. Maybe they'll release something then. Maybe some photos. Maybe Taika will decide to post anything, leak anything. We'll have to find out. But apart from that, yeah, it just says that at the end of it, Thor will return. Is it Mighty Thor or is it Thor? We'll have to, you know, find out to see what happens in between that. But this is just my little rundown, little bit of references, little bit of notices here and there, Easter eggs, if you will. Breakdown for Thor, Love and Thunder, and my spoiler review on the film. If you guys enjoyed this, if you guys enjoyed my spoiler review on this film, please leave it down in the comment section below. Other spoilers for films or TV shows you guys would like me to do. More than happy to take my time to pursue into it. I would love to go and, you know, basically bring this into the channel, do some more spoilers. I've basically been doing non-spoilers before, but I've always wanted to really see and think about what you guys thought about for the film, in terms of really talk about deep, heavy spoilers that other YouTubers do, but put in my own little bit of, you know, thought into it, my own little version of what I can, you know, try to see and really portray into the YouTube channel. But yeah, if you guys really enjoy this, don't forget to go like it, subscribe, turn on the post notifications bell so you're always notified for when new content comes out. And yeah, if you guys like this video, be sure to go do that, because then I'll be able to know if you guys really want more of this. But if you guys have seen any new references, heard of any new Easter eggs, or put your opinions down in the comment section, or or if you have any opinions about the film, please pop them in the comment section down below so we're able to discuss this, or follow the socials above where I'm always chatting on, especially Twitter, so we can always discuss our opinions and thoughts as well there. But yeah, guys, thank you for always tuning in. I really appreciate you guys always coming into the YouTube channel to always watch these videos. I hope you have a great day tonight, and peace.